the Biden administration of, quote, refusing to let them reunify with their parents. Now, we've also heard from Guatemala's government, who announced that they will work with the Trump administration to reunite some of those children with their families, but only after they've received their right to due process, and that is critical here.
A big question that remains is, who are these kids? We've heard from the attorneys and the governments of both countries, but we haven't yet heard from anyone claiming to be their family members, and no one is saying that they have committed any crimes.
These children ranged in age. These are minors, again, who were unaccompanied when they crossed the border into the U.S. And going back to the interview we had with the attorney, they said there were children who were taken out of shelter and onto those planes who did not want to go back to Guatemala.
There are children that were taken out of the shelters and onto those planes who did not want to go back.
He said some of them could, in fact, face harm if they returned back to Guatemala. And again, even for the children that did want to go back home to Guatemala, there is a legal process. That legal process wasn't followed. That's what the lawyer is really stressing here, and generally questioning the motivation of the government.
If these were, as the government presented them, benign repatriations that were lawful and, normal course of business, why pick up the kids at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, with 2 hours notice?
Why under the cover of darkness? Why, as he says in his words, was the government trying to hide this?
The question also remains, where does this case fit into the larger policy discussions around immigration and mass deportations? Here again, Selena Wang.
This is not the first time, I think, that you and I even have been talking about a last-minute, hastily, emergency scheduled hearing to stop the administration in terms of something they're doing around mass deportations.
Now that we have achieved the mission of sealing the border, you're going to see more and more resources and priorities put into the mass deportation program.
We have thousands of people that are ready to go out, and you can't have a trial for all of these people.
It's really just the latest controversy in the president's sweeping immigration crackdown. And all of this comes into the context of as this administration is also surging immigration enforcement operations here in the U.S. across cities. And officials tell us that they plan to surge immigration enforcement in Chicago as early as this week.
In Chicago, you have Homeland Security officials promising that enforcement there will focus on the worst of the worst, while Chicago leaders say they don't need or want the federal government to step in.
The Chicago mayor, in fact, signed an executive order to resist federal involvement, but unclear exactly how effective that's going to be.
ABC's Selena Wang on the Start Here podcast. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is planning to meet with Latin American leaders this week to discuss the Guatemalan children and other immigration concerns. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
High prices and rising debt may be a big frustration for all of us, but the data shows many of us just keep spending. While that's good news for the economy, it doesn't quite make sense. It seems like there's a disconnect between our perception and reality when it comes to the economy. I asked Bankrate senior industry analyst Ted Rossman what's driving this spending.
It's really interesting. I mean, some of what's going on is that upper-income households are propping up these statistics. Moody's says that the top 10% of the income distribution is accounting for 50% of the spending. And that's an all-time high going back to the late 80s when they started tracking this. There's also this whole perception versus reality thing where a lot of people are downbeat about the economy. They feel that things are too expensive and they're not getting ahead. The truth is that wage growth has outpaced inflation for the past few years. And even though it doesn't feel great because everything costs more, people do have income coming in. The unemployment rate is low. People are working. People are getting raises. I know it doesn't feel like we're getting ahead, but that is at least supporting a lot of spending. And there's also this ongoing post-pandemic experiences kind of binge. I'm surprised that we're basically on year 5 of that at this point. But a lot of people are prioritizing travel and dining and concerts and sporting events and things like that.
Yeah, you mentioned the upper income has boosted this number a bit. But when you look at the spending, what kinds of things are we spending money on?
Some people are pulling demand forward because of tariffs. That's another part of the story. So that could be bigger ticket items like cars and appliances, electronics, furniture. I mean, we're definitely seeing evidence that some people are speeding up some of those purchases, and they've been doing that this spring and summer to try to get out ahead of potential higher prices. Experiences are still hot, too. We're still seeing record demand for travel, and dining out is still doing well, and other experiences like concerts and sporting events. So all of those things are doing well. One area that people are not investing in quite as much are home renovations. It was interesting that during their recent earnings calls, companies like Home Depot talked about how people are doing the smaller projects and maybe they're coming in more frequently for smaller things, but they're not necessarily doing the full-blown kitchen renovation or bathroom or something like that. It tends to be more of the smaller cosmetic kind of projects.
Yeah. How does it look as far as big purchases like buying a house?
The housing market's been in a tough spot the past few years. High prices and high mortgage rates have been major headwinds there. There's just not that much inventory. Now, some of that's improved a little bit, and mortgage rates have actually edged down a bit. We're now looking at about 6.5% on average for the 30-year fixed. Late last year, we were close to 8%. So, the fact that rates have come down is helping. But people are still nervous. Is it the best time to make a big purchase like a house? People maybe don't have the down payment, or they're worried about job security, or they just can't find something they like. If mortgage rates were to fall below 6%, that would definitely help. But housing has been pretty slow the past few years.
A new report from you guys talks about subprime credit essentially becoming a subprime tax for many Americans. Talk about this for a minute. First of all, what is subprime credit?
We're talking about people with lower credit scores. So on the scale that goes from 300 to 850, generally speaking, if you're about 620 or lower, that's considered subprime, whereas if you're in the 700 or 800s, that's prime. That's desirable customers, more likely to get approved. You're going to have lower interest rates on your loans. The 600s is kind of a battleground. It matters a lot. Every 10 or 20 points can really improve or make your standing worse. So basically, we're talking about people who have, let's say, a 620 credit score. And, what are they paying for loans and lines of credit versus somebody who has a 700, somebody who's deemed a better credit risk. And what we found is that people with lower credit scores are charged about $3,400 more per year on average. That's for mortgages, car loans, insurance products, credit cards. It really adds up over time.
Yeah. Why are they punished so much?
Yeah, the reason these lenders are charging more is because these people are deemed greater credit risks. That your credit score is kind of a report card of sorts, supposed to predict how likely you are to pay back loans and lines of credit. What's surprising to us isn't really that people with lower credit scores are charged more. It's that the amount is so much more, and it's the amount that they maybe can't afford. We found that this represents about 4% of the median annual income. So it's definitely just one more thing on top of higher prices, higher interest rates. Now, there are some things you can do to improve your score. You can check for errors. You can sign up for programs like Experian Boost that pull in certain rent payments and streaming services and cell phone plans. Maybe you could get on a parent or spouse's card as an authorized user and piggyback off their credit card history. These are some of the things people can do to bump their scores up, because it is really important. I mean, especially for something like a mortgage, like even a quarter point or a half a point can be tens of thousands of dollars over the life of that loan.
And Ted Rossman is a senior industry analyst with Bankrate. President Trump calling on members of Congress to put together a new crime bill. We'll have more on that and other legislative priorities as Congress returns from their summer break. That's next. But first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Michelle?
Looking good out there, Maria. We're looking at a KSL travel time of about 40 minutes from Ogden to downtown Salt Lake using southbound I-15. No matter the weather, you can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Michelle Rowan, the KSL Traffic Center.
If you're starting to think about the holidays and thinking, hey, I'd really like to take off those few extra pounds, I'd like to tell you about Salt Lake City Fat Loss and why I was so successful on this plan. And it's really because of them. I mean, they've put together a plan that uses just a simple combination of foods. It's all natural, so I didn't have to worry about any side effects. And it worked so quickly. I didn't have to work out for an hour a day to lose that weight. It worked quickly. It just, quickly dissolved that belly fat that I was carrying around. And I lost that 40 pounds. It was easy to stick with. They also have a great app that I want you to know about because it keeps you accountable. It allows you that freedom to check in with them and get help if you need it. It gives you inspiration, a minute video every morning inspiring you, and it keeps track of your weight as well as giving you some great recipes so you don't get bored with that food you eat. I've lost more than 40 pounds, but many of their clients lose up to a pound per day. Learn how you can save $200 now at slcfatloss.com. Tell them Maria sent you. You can call them 801-450-1882, slcfatloss.com, slcfatloss.com.
Change is always happening. Hey, it's a part of life. And when it comes to music, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten, classics are remixed, bands and artists come and go. Even our taste in music changes. But no matter how things change, in 5 years, there's one thing that'll stay the same: the price of your internet. Xfinity is introducing the 5-year price guarantee. It means you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with their best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same. Surprised? Life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years guaranteed. Learn more at xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA Fixed Broadband Experience Report August 2024. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Go to xfinity.com/deals.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest-standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL NewsRadio.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. When you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
Connect with a local divorce attorney today. Text Office 44 to 32 32 32. Office 44 to 32 32 32. CordellCordell.com.
You are listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. We are streaming on the KSL NewsRadio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. President Trump is calling on Republican lawmakers to draft a comprehensive crime bill. News Nation's Tom Dempsey has more.
Lawmakers returning to the Capitol after their summer recess, and one of the top things on the agenda for Congress revolves around whether or not this federal takeover of the D.C. Police Department should continue. Because here's the thing, the timetable of all this, Marky, that federal takeover of the D.C. Police Department, it actually expires next week. So already several Republicans are working on legislation to see that order extended. One proposal calls for federal control to last 6 months total, while others say the order should be extended indefinitely. The latest numbers from the Justice Department show almost 1,600 arrests since the operation began. President Trump recently described D.C. as a crime-free zone and hinted other cities could soon see similar crackdowns. But Maryland Governor Wes Moore pushed back against that plan recently.
My heart breaks for anybody who is coming up in our community and doesn't feel safe in their own neighborhood, because I know what that feels like. I would love more federal support, but federal support on things that actually make sense and not things that are performative.
Also on the agenda, President Trump says House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune, they're working with him on a crime bill as well. Exact details of what could be part of that still remain unknown, but it may involve things like providing more resources for police and cracking down on cashless bail.
That is News Nation's Tom Dempsey reporting. Another looming government shutdown. It feels like deja vu, right? And didn't Congress just pass one big, beautiful bill to tackle the budget? It's all a little complicated. The Deseret News' congressional correspondent Cami Mondo broke down the developments today on Inside Sources.
It's like this issue that comes up every September. You know, every October 1st is the end of the fiscal year and you need to pass the new budget. We did just spend months and months and months on this new spending bill. But that was actually what's known as non-discretionary spending versus what you have now is the mandatory spending that you have to pass every year. And so it's a little bit different in terms of budget, even though it sounds the same. But in order to keep the government up and running, they have to pass these 12 different appropriations bills that are due on October 1st.
And what are we hearing about those, Cami? If discussions obviously have started, we're not going to just hit the ground on September 3rd or 4th. But are you hearing that there's going to be a significant pushback on any of these, or maybe all of them?
Right, and so what the biggest difference is between, that big, beautiful bill that they passed over the summer, that was a completely partisan spending bill that Republicans were able to do by themselves. With this appropriations process, almost by design, it has to be bipartisan because in the Senate, you actually need 2/3 majority, meaning that you're going to need at least 7 or 8 Democrats to sign on with this. And so that's where we're seeing this issue because, Democrats are getting increasingly frustrated with Republicans and President Donald Trump that they're continuing to introduce spending cuts and continuing to make these budget proposals much lower than the year before. And so that's where you're seeing a big issue with this government shutdown threat that Democrats are basically saying, if you continue to cut this funding, we aren't going to support it.
So with that in mind, what are the chances we'll see a government shutdown? Cammie's been chatting with all sorts of sources behind the scenes at the U.S. Capitol.
So as I've seen her, as I've talked to people, they're seeming it's a little bit more likely than not at the moment just because Democrats, you have Schumer in the Senate and Jeffries in the House who are, continually asking Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune for meetings to kind of come up with a bipartisan process. We haven't seen that at all. They've been asking for weeks. So it is seeming like, if Republicans don't come to the table and, try to work with Democrats and they continue going down this street where they, want to really push for spending cuts, you very well could see a government shutdown. So I think what I saw earlier today that a lot of people are kind of giving it a 50-50 chance at the moment, but we'll see how that progresses.
Deseret News congressional correspondent Cami Mondo there speaking to Inside Sources this morning about a potential government shutdown. It's 1:30 midday at KSL NewsRadio. I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching this hour. The first major weekend in college football, and now the latest rankings on where the teams stand. We'll break that down with KSL Sports. Rebuilds and renovations of some of the Wasatch Front's most popular recreation areas. And KSL traffic, Michelle.
Little busy on Bangerter Highway, Maria, around the 201 freeway.
We are looking for a high today of 93 degrees and nice, clear skies, at least for the next couple of days, but we do have some storms moving in later this week. KSL's top local stories in 1 minute. First, ABC News.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. Spacecom will move out of Colorado Springs, says President Trump at the White House.
The U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City.
The Air Force said the move would save millions of dollars. Defying President Trump and the Speaker of the House, Congressman Thomas Massey, Kentucky Republican, has formally filed a measure to bypass Republican leadership and force a vote ordering the Justice Department to publicly release the Jeffrey Epstein files. The congressman now collects signatures. A federal judge rules that the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles violated a century-old law. Israeli military says it's called up thousands of reservists for its ground operation into Gaza City. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. An immigration judge has approved a bond, opening the door for a Utah violinist in ICE custody to come home. But John Shin's attorney is worried the federal government will try to get in the way. His attorney, Adam Craig, says federal prosecutors have the option of claiming Shin is a national security threat, which could keep him in ICE custody for more than a year if the judge sides with the government.
Nobody with half a brain is going to say that this guy is a real, true danger to the community. Nobody's going to.
Craig says Shin's only criminal record is one impaired driving conviction and 4 traffic tickets. He says this motion is normally reserved for terrorists. We'll know by tomorrow morning whether the government goes down this route and whether Shin can post his bond and come home. A West Jordan man could face serious charges after police say he used fake money to try and buy a phone and then took the phone at gunpoint. KSL NewsRadio's Alexandria Bonilla reports.
West Jordan police say Irvin Renova Sandoval arranged to meet up with someone selling a phone on Facebook Marketplace for $850. When the two met, Renova Sandoval reportedly only gave them $650, and it was movie money. The bill said for motion picture purposes only. Police say Renova Sandoval pointed a gun at the seller once he was found out and told them not to tell anyone before driving off. The seller was able to get a license plate for police, who say Renova Sandoval led them on a short chase, but was eventually found at his home, where he allegedly told police that wasn't a real gun, and he already sold the phone. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Homeowners in the Provo School District may owe as much as $150 more in property taxes than they thought they would.
It was an unfortunate error. The auditor's office is owning it, though, and it boils down to a clerical error. It was just human error. I think before the tax bill went out, the wrong numbers were entered in on a computer keyboard.
Utah County Communications Manager Rich Pyatt tells Inside Sources the auditor's office is taking steps to better automate their system so that this doesn't happen again. Other local stories KSL is following. People who love to get out and see all the fall colors can start planning their drives now. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Patchy colors. That's what Matt Johnson in the KSL Weather Center says we will have over the next 2 to 3 weeks. But starting on September 20th, running through October 4th, he says that's the peak season where you should plan your family photos if you want to get some of those brilliant colors.
By mid-October, most of the leaves will be on the ground. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow is down by 425 points, sitting at 45,119. S&P down by 73. The NASDAQ down by 286 points. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Michelle Rowe.
I'm looking at a live shot of a crash, Maria. This is southbound I-15 in the Uinta, or in the Willard Bay area, I should say. Some sort of utility vehicle has gone off the shoulder, and they do have some highway patrol working on that. From system install to faxes to deliver award-winning heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Call Whipple Service Champions for the win today. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
You can expect high temperatures in the low 90s for the first part of the week, dropping into the 80s by the end of the week with a chance of showers. 90 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
There's a photo my wife took of me, sitting crisscross on the floor playing Legos with my boys. Might not sound like much, but back in 2020, I couldn't get down there without pain, let alone enjoy it. After 16 weeks on soda and 82 pounds gone, that picture means everything. It's proof that I'm not just present in my kid's life, but I'm active, engaged, and I'm healthy. Soda didn't just give me a plan. It gave me a partner, a personal nutritionist who helped me every step. Through grocery store trips, family vacations, late night cravings, you name it. If you're a parent who wants to be there, not just someday, but right now, go to sodaweightloss.com. Click the Request a Nutritionist callback. That's sodaweightloss.com. SOTA stands for state of the art. sodaweightloss.com.
Soda is
Say it with me. State of the art.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, their award-winning tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Find the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief today for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
You were listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. The AP Top 25 poll is out, with Utah sneaking in at number 25 and BYU left off the list entirely. Okay, it's no secret. This is good news to me because I'm a Ute fan, but bad news for BYU fans. Let's get some analysis on the rankings with KSL Sports anchor Sam Farnsworth. Sam, I'm a little confused. I mean, the Cougars had such a great season last year, and this is one game for the Ute. Explain what happened here.
Well, I mean, last year was such a good year for BYU, but there was a lot of questions surrounding this team with obviously the quarterback situation with Jake Retzloff leaving the team and then them starting a true freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier. They did outstanding in week one, beating a small school the way they should have, 69-0. So when it comes to the amount of votes they're getting, they're technically 26. So they're just right outside the top 25. Utah was 27th. They leapt over BYU to 25th, and they deserve it 100%. The way they played against UCLA on the road, they answered a lot of questions that people were wondering what this new offense could do. And their new quarterback, Devin Dampier, he was outstanding. So I think with 1 week into the season, this is about what we should be seeing right now from these two teams.
Okay, so what do these rankings mean so early in the season?
Not a whole lot. However, what they do is they do build momentum for these programs, right? And when it comes to the last 6 weeks or so of the season, that's when it really matters, when the playoff committee starts to pick teams and decide who's going to make it to the playoffs. That's where this ranking momentum can help. So the more you win early in the season, the more you get into the rankings early in the season, the better for you in the long run.
So I'm going to actually ask, why are both teams so far down in those rankings?
That's a good question. I think a big reason for Utah was because they had such a poor season last year. A losing season. Kyle Whittingham usually does not have losing seasons, and there's a lot of questions if they'd be able to get back on track with this new offense. Again, BYU with their quarterback situation, I think was the biggest question mark there. And you might say they look like they're pretty far down, but really where they're at right now is a pretty good spot, wherein, like, let's say 2-3 weeks from now, if they both have still won all their games up to that point, we could see them both in the top 20, which would be a great spot for them.
Okay, so when you're looking at the matchups for this coming weekend, are these guys going to be able to hang on to these rankings?
Yeah, they definitely should. Utah's taking on Cal Poly. This is a team that Utah should just be able to handle without any problems at all. And for lack of a better term, they really should dominate that game. BYU playing Stanford, that's a good, it counts as a Power 4 win. Stanford is a program that's kind of on the down. They're struggling. So that's, again, another game that BYU should win. So I expect both of these teams to come out with convincing wins this weekend, which would help their cause next week. They should be able to bump up a little bit in the rankings, both of them. And I think BYU will be in the top 25 next week with a win.
Okay, I think both teams' fans are pretty darn excited for the season. I mean, what stood out for you this weekend?
Yeah, there's a lot of good reason to be excited. For BYU fans, I think you got to be excited about the way a true freshman played. He counted for 5 touchdowns just in the first half. And no BYU true freshman has ever started at quarterback to start the season. And here he comes in and accounts for 5 touchdowns really quick. And then Utah's quarterback, Devin Dampier, was amazing. He proved every question that we had, he proved that he could do it with his feet, his mobility, had a great arm, great accuracy. And so there's certainly a lot to be excited about with both of these offenses moving forward.
Where did Devin Dampier come from?
He was a transfer from the University of New Mexico. Last year, he was outstanding. He was one of those quarterbacks that ran for over 1,000 yards, had 19 rushing touchdowns. 12 passing touchdowns and 12 interceptions. So a lot of people wondered if he'd be able to pass with more accuracy at the Power 5, Power 4 level, and he did that against UCLA. So he came from New Mexico. Utah's new offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, also came from New Mexico. So it was kind of like a package deal. They know each other well. They work together well, and it showed up last Saturday when they took on UCLA.
Okay, Sam, appreciate your help. Thanks for being with me.
Yeah, no problem.
KSL sports anchor Sam Farnsworth joining me, talking about today's poll, AP poll that came out, ranking Utes at 25 and the Cougars at 26. And for you Cougar fans out there, make sure you tune in to the new nightly Cougar Track Show with Mitch Harper each night at 6:30. He's going to have a lot to say about that tonight right here on KSL News Radio. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
Ticket packages for the Utah Mammoth 2025-26 season are available now. From full season and half-season packages to mini plans and other flexible options, choose the ticket package that fits you best and be part of the action all season long. Call or text 801-325-PUCK to talk with a rep or visit nhl.com/Utah/tickets/season tickets to learn more.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Turn everyday spending into an extraordinary escape. Shop with any Mountain America credit or debit card for a chance to win a $5,000 vacation voucher. Simply tap, insert, swipe, or click to be entered to win now until October 31st. Use any card, win any trip from Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/anycard for official rules or to apply. Loans on approved credit. Membership required based on eligibility. Insured by NCUA. Limited time offer. Offer can change or be withdrawn at any time.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for about 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop texts. StopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is the American dream dead? A new poll from the Wall Street Journal says it is. Well, what do you think? Send us a text with your thoughts to 57500. Now, the poll found nearly 70% of people said that they believe the American dream, that if you work hard, you will get ahead, no longer holds true or never did. That's the highest level in nearly 15 years of surveys. The poll also found that the share of people who say they have a good chance at improving their standard of living fell to 25%, a record low in surveys dating all the way back to 1987. Inside Sources co-host Holly Richardson dug into the politics of it on this morning's show.
So one of the things, too, that stood out to me in this poll is that it was bipartisan. So both Republicans and Democrats. And as you can imagine, Republicans are a little more optimistic than Democrats. That always happens when you have a particular party holding the White House, that the people in that party are more optimistic about the economy and what it's doing. So when Biden was in the White House, Democrats were more optimistic, and now Republicans are. But even more than half of the Republicans say they are pessimistic about the future for themselves and their kids. And for Democrats, it's, 79. No, it's 90% of Democrats.
Co-host Greg Skorda saying that the rising price of housing could play a major role in this pessimism, especially here in Utah.
Here in Utah, I think you can understand that level of pessimism on just from one or two factors, not the least of which is housing.
Yeah,
if
that's
you
right.
consider what has happened to house prices, and I think that the American dream includes owning a home,
right?
Raising your family in your own home. And if you look at Utah, and I'm sure it's the same nationwide, the cost of housing has increased much more than incomes, and so you can't afford a house nearly as easily as you could have years ago. And if that's your idea of reaching the American dream, I can understand why maybe only 25% of people think they're ever going to get there.
Well, one of the things, again, that we've talked about many times on the show, as you've mentioned, is housing, and how nationally the average age of purchasing your first home has gone up, and now it's in people in their 30s instead of in their 20s, which it had been. But this is not just a Utah issue, although I think it is pretty bad in Utah. It's a national issue, and it's one of the things, again, that this article points out. They talked to a man who's 61, so our age-ish, And he says that while he thinks the economy is improving, he doesn't think his kids are going to have the ability to purchase a home. And he said that they have 2 of his 3 adult children live with him, one in a trailer on the property. And I've had a kid ask me if he could build a tiny home on the back of our property. I'm like, no. And the other one inside the house with a husband and a child, right? So that's what we're seeing more and more is this multi-generational living.
And we would appreciate your text. We'd like to hear what you think about this at 57500. Now, what could shift this trend? What could inspire more hope in a better economic future? Greg and Holly both hypothesize that it would take a significant rise in income along with more affordable housing. Now, it's been a long time, and at this point, I yearn from... Oh, okay. I have some text here that I want to read for you. This person said they believe it's been for a long time, and at this point, they yearn for an apartment not taking over half of their rent, right? It's not just about buying a home. It's the fact that just housing is taking over your life. Another says that feels like, or they say that feels like it's slipping away too. Next person says, stop letting Wall Street and investment firms outbid families and young people. And that's our text for right now. You can always text us at 57500. We really appreciate hearing from you. A popular hiking destination in Provo Canyon looking at several closures over the next year while the area gets a rebuild. More about the construction at Bridalveil Falls. That's coming up next. But first, it's KSL Traffic. It's brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Michelle?
Still looking on this crash, Maria. This is southbound I-15 in the Willard Bay area, blocking the right shoulder. Some sort of utility vehicle has gone off into the brush, and they are working on trying to get that uprighted. Fall in Alta is here, and so is your exclusive locals offer. Snowpan Lodge is giving Utah residents 20% off lodging. Get away from the daily hustle and enjoy mountain mornings and golden colors. Visit snowpine.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Back to school shopping. It's basically like a sport. The kids want new shoes, new jeans, new colors, new everything. And honestly, they're not wrong. They've grown. Their style has changed. And apparently, last year's hoodie is embarrassing. So we make a quick trip to the mountains. Junction Commons Park City has cooler temps, fresh air, and way better deals. Sneakers? We hit Nike Factory, Adidas, and Vans Outlet. Clothes? Abercrombie & Fitch, American Eagle, Gap Factory, J. Crew Factory, Buckle, all the brands they want without draining my wallet. And while they're shopping, I get a little mountain escape, a latte in hand, cool breeze, and a few peaceful moments to myself. Honestly, it's the kind of back-to-school tradition I can get behind.
Junction Commons Park City. Cooler temps, hotter deals, and one very relieved parent.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up, like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. It's the final days of Sleep Number's biggest sale of the year. All beds on sale. Up to 50% off the limited edition smart bed. Ends Monday. All Sleep Number smart beds offer temperature solutions for your best sleep. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher. accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the University of Utah Huntsman Mental Health Institute to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
This is Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. As we move into the fall season, the popular Bridal Veil Falls area in Provo Canyon will undergo some massive renovations. It's part of a major rebuild that will cause closures in the parking area along the trail and on the bridges that take visitors to the falls. Today, the first phase of that construction begins on the lower parking lot. Rich Pyatt, Communications Manager for Utah County, spoke to KSL News Radio's Don Brinkerhoff about some of the challenges they've seen at Bridal Veil over the past several years and how these changes will help improve the overall experience for visitors.
This combination of things, I think that Bridal Veil is kind of considered a crown jewel in Utah County. A lot of people go and see it, and if you visit there, you notice that some of the amenities are lacking. The walkway directly under the falls has gotten hammered by avalanches, and there's kind of a makeshift walkway there. It's narrow. It's not very aesthetically pleasing. The safety issue is something that prompted it as well. There's people standing there looking at the falls, and there's no real place for them to stand except down the path. And then you have bicyclists and skateboarders and runners coming through there trying to squeeze through on that narrow area as well. So I think it's just a feeling that our job at Utah County is to make the experience in Utah County and some of the beautiful areas as pleasant as possible. And it's up to us to make sure that happens, and we're doing it. So I should add that the project has been a little slowed down by the fact that the area on that south side where the falls actually are is kind of a combination of county land and U.S. Forest Service land. And we're not really allowed to do work in that area without the permission of the Forest Service. However, we've been working with the Forest Service, offering a land swap initially, but then the Forest Service has agreed to do a land conveyance, which needs the approval of which needs congressional approval to happen. And in the meantime, we're getting a conditional use permit from the Forest Service too. So part of the delay has been we've been waiting for some of the bureaucracy to work its way through so that we have the ability to work through it. But in all, we feel like this project is ripe for improvement, and we want to make improvements, and that's what that tourism tax money is for. And so we're eager to spend it. We're always on the lookout for projects that will serve the people of Utah County and the people that visit Utah County the best. We feel like this is a good use of that money. By the way, the land conveyance is in process in Congress. We've been working with Congressman Kennedy's office on that. It takes a while to get through, so that's why we have the conditional use permit, and that's also why that portion of the project is coming second, so that we have some time to let that work its way through before we start.
The closures that start today should be in effect for the next year or so. You can get more information on the specific closures, and you can see renderings of the project by visiting utahcounty.gov. Here in Salt Lake City, a major facelift coming to a popular playground at Liberty Park. Construction at the Rotary Play Park, an all-ability playground, begins today. It was built ahead of the 2002 Paralympic Games, and after more than 20 years, it's been in need of some serious repairs and upgrades. Project manager John Radis tells KSL News Radio's Tammy Kikuchi that this is all possible thanks to the general obligation bond that the city passed recently.
The goal of the project is to basically give this playground a major overhaul or a major facelift, to include new playground equipment, new play opportunities and areas for seating and gathering. The original intent of the Rotary Play Park was to develop kind of an all-abilities playground, and we still have that theme and what that objective, but we're trying to expand on that a little bit and not just focus on kind of accessible play and maybe focusing on certain abilities or disabilities, but really trying to make it an all-inclusive playground that kind of reaches out and addresses numerous needs and reaches out to kids with all different types of abilities.
The playground closes today and is expected to reopen next summer. Rada says that the rebuilt playground will feature several different zones, making it an enjoyable experience for people of any and all abilities. Among the new amenities will be a climbing tower, a group pendulum swing, a wheelchair-accessible spin carousel, a splash zone, sand tables, and adaptive interpretive features for folks with vision, hearing, and communication differences. When all is said and done, Rada says that the city hopes the changes will increase the popularity of the park.
We do see a lot of traffic going through the playground there. Parents really love it. There's also, I know that some of the adjacent schools or maybe after-school programs tend to do some programming there at the playground, and so we see use from that side of it as well. So it is very popular already, and we anticipate this will just increase kind of that popularity. The other thing we're trying to do is especially through signage, is making patrons aware that this is an all-abilities playground, that if they get on our website, they'll be able to search and see, okay, yeah, I see that this kind of checks this box or meets this need that maybe my child has, and I can take my child to this place and have a really good experience. Whereas right now we have some of that, but we're really hoping to increase that and get the word out. And this becomes not only kind of a local attraction for the Liberty Park area, but also maybe regionally or within Salt Lake City.
Project is projected to cost roughly $5 million. Most of its funding is coming from the voter-approved general obligation bond as well as park impact fees. In the next hour, Midday, comments from Maureen Hunsaker's family about the pause in Ralph Menzies' execution. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Labor Day, the unofficial end to summer, also the end of the deadliest days on Utah's roads. But the warnings to be safer still in effect.
If we can each set a goal to be a little bit better and change a behavior that we have that could potentially cause a crash, I think that will help us on our journey towards zero fatalities.
The time is 2 o'clock on Tuesday, September 2nd. It's midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. We'll get the latest data on deadly crashes on Utah's roads and if we saw a better year compared to 2024. Also this hour,
every single one is just bashing what they're saying, but we don't actually see anyone saying anything to it or about it.
Angry reactions today from students at the U over new policies aimed at easing congestion on campus. But first, our top stories. A clerical error on Utah County property taxes could add anywhere from $10 to $150 to homeowners' bills. KSL News Radio's Heather Kelly has details.
It was human error when entering numbers into the tax system. That's according to Utah County spokesman Rich Pyatt, who tells Inside Sources they're working on automation so this doesn't happen in the future. In the meantime, homeowners should be prepared to see their tax bill increase by about $10 across most of the valley, except for those in the Provo School District. They owe up to $150.
Pyatt says the county is still working on a couple of different options to collecting the additional funds. KSL's top national story from ABC News. Congress is now back in session. One of the first items on the agenda for lawmakers is how to fund the government for the rest of the year. House Democrats say they haven't talked with the Republicans about how to move forward with the bipartisan solution. At a news conference, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries says Democrats won't let Republicans ram through a bill that doesn't have bipartisan support.
We're not going to find ourselves in a situation where Republicans at the 11th hour present a partisan spending bill that hurts everyday Americans, hurts children, hurts veterans, hurts seniors, and hurts the very people who this government should be helping.
The funding deadline is September 30th, and if no bill is passed by then, there would be a government shutdown. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has approved sending up to 600 military lawyers to the Justice Department to serve as temporary immigration judges. Now, that's according to a memo reviewed by the Associated Press. Military will begin sending groups of 150 attorneys, both military and civilians, to the Justice Department as soon as practical. Now, the effort continues as the Trump administration cracks down on immigration across the country, ramping up arrests and deportations. A federal appeals court is allowing the Trump administration to cut $16 billion in climate-related grants. ABC's Peter Haralambous reports.
In a 2-1 decision, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia allowed the Trump administration to carry out its plans to cut $16 billion in grants to combat greenhouse emissions. The Biden administration awarded the grants as part of the former president's vow to address climate change, but the Trump administration immediately tried to axe them, sparking a legal challenge. The appeals court ultimately tossed the lawsuit because it was filed in the wrong court. Peter Haralambous, ABC News.
Taking a look at your money at this moment. At the close, the Dow down by 424 points, ending at 45,119. S&P down by 73. The NASDAQ down by 286 points. Traffic and weather, it's brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Traffic just a little thick and slow, Maria. Northbound I-15 approaching 21st South. That starts right about 2700 South, either due to a traffic stop that is now cleared or some sort of accident that was in that area. Once you get past that, good speeds into downtown. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
A few fluffy clouds and high temperatures staying in the low 90s for the next few days. Down to 88 on Friday with a chance of showers moving in. Then we'll be into the low 80s for the weekend and a good chance of showers on Saturday and Sunday. 90 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
The Utah RV Super Show, the premier RV event of the year, is back at the Mountain America Expo Center Thursday, September 11th through Sunday, September 14th. Come see new 2026 models and special closeout pricing on all 2025 models. The Utah RV Super Show is offering family passes Thursday, September 11th for $10 per family. Unplug from distractions and plug into family at the Utah RV Super Show. Discount passes at UtahRVSupershow.com.
It all started with a commitment to comfort. Gillette Heating and Air is proud to be Utah County's go-to team for expert HVAC and plumbing solutions. Need a repair, upgrade, or seasonal tune-up? Don't let cost hold you back. With 0% financing available, it's easy to get the work done now and pay later. Plus, save $100 on any repair over $500 and keep your system running strong with a professional tune-up before the heat hits. Visit GilletteHVAC.com or call 385-GET-COOL to book today. Homegrown service pros, financing made simple, comfort made easy.
Carrier, turn to the experts. A Carrier factory authorized dealer.
You need a deck. You want a pool. We have a plan. If you're looking to start a home improvement project, a discounted home equity line of credit from Zions Bank is an easy, affordable way to turn your home's equity into opportunity. Stop by your local branch to get started or visit zionsbank.com/HELOC to learn more. Loan subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. See banker for details. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A. member FDIC, equal housing lender. NMLS number 467014.
Thank you for tuning into Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. With Labor Day now in the rearview mirror, the deadliest days of summer across Utah are coming to an end. Looking back at the last 3 months, beginning with Memorial Day weekend, how did we do? Was this year better than last year? Let's get the information from Department of Public Safety, and joining me live here on Midday is Jason Metman, Communications Manager for the Department's Highway Safety Office. And Jason, thanks for being with me. So how did we do?
Well, Maria, we're wrapping up the 100 deadliest days of summer yesterday. We're excited to be moving into fall, and we're calling on all Utah drivers to continue some of the good trends that we've been seeing over our summer so that we can keep arriving safely where we need to go.
So compare this year to last year.
So in 2025, during the summertime, we lost 85 lives on Utah roads during the 100 deadliest days. That is a huge number. One fatality is too many, but we are down by about 8 or 9%, our preliminary data shows. So we are below what we lost last summer, so that is very encouraging to see. We're glad to have the public's help in doing that.
But yet we had a deadly weekend, didn't we?
We did. We unfortunately had a large incident that claimed 3 lives just in one, and then we had another commercial vehicle incident that claimed another to wrap up the summer. The most concerning trends that we saw over the summer were the speed and the motorcycle-related incidents. We did have the deadliest July on record ever for motorcycle crashes in July. More than half of our fatalities were due to motorcycle-related incidents.
And then speed being the other factor, huh?
Yeah, speed being the other factor. So out of our 85, we can confirm that at least 21 of those involved speed above the posted limit or extreme speeds.
Okay, so what are you seeing that we're doing better? I mean, you saw a 13% decrease. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, so we can appreciate that everyone has places to be this summer, and there's lots of fun to be had out in Utah. And we see that we had a decrease in pedestrian fatalities and bicyclist fatalities. Those numbers were relatively low in 2025. We love to see that people are out sharing the road a little bit better. But again, motorcyclists are also really vulnerable on the road, and we didn't like to see that increase at all.
Do you think all of the information that's gone out to folks, I mean, you do a lot of information talking about the deadliest days. Do you think that information is actually starting to sink in?
Gosh, we hope so. We would like to call it the 100 safest days of summer. Our goal is always 0 fatalities, and I want Utahns to remember that these crashes are 100% preventable. They are not accidents. There is always something that either driver or someone involved could have been more aware of or made safety a part of their plan before they even get in the car. If we could get folks to buckle up and drive sober and put their distractions away, most of these fatalities during the summer would just fall off the map.
Jason, any final thoughts for us?
Gosh, everyone has a responsibility to share the road. Please continue to make safety a part of your plan. Traffic conditions are changing out there with back to school. Watch out for those kids in those school zones, and make sure and keep your speed at a reasonable place.
Jason, I appreciate your time. Thank you for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
That's Jason Metman. He's Communications Manager for the Department's Highway Safety Office. In other news, the family of murder victim Maureen Hunsaker says that they were blindsided by the Utah Supreme Court's decision late last week that halted the scheduled execution of her killer, Ralph Menzies. He was supposed to be executed by firing squad this Friday, September 5th. Maureen's son, Matt Hunsaker, met with the Attorney General's office today to discuss the next steps, but says nothing could have prepared him for their ruling.
Absolutely blindsided. It's 6 days before the execution. I've never been that disappointed or taken back in this case in my entire life. I had no words. I just gathered my family and got out of town as quick as possible. Spent the time out of town with my family and just turned my phone off and focused on that for the weekend.
Hunsaker says the state is now considering options for a rehearing on part of the decision that could otherwise allow for what he calls an infinite loop of appeals. Now the court didn't overturn the sentence. Instead, they're instructing the lower court to revisit the competency issues raised by Menzies' lawyers over his dementia diagnosis. KSL legal analyst and co-host of Inside Sources, Greg Skordas, explained the move to Amanda Dixon today.
So what the Supreme Court is saying, Amanda, is that Menzies, what they call vascular dementia, which means that the blood flow to his brain is cut off from a series of events, probably like mini strokes or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's continued to get worse. It's continued to exacerbate to the point where he may have to have another psychological hearing, another mental health hearing, another competency hearing. The last one was a month or two ago. His lawyers have indicated that he's had another series of events that may make him incompetent again. So the Supreme Court said to the trial court judge, you need to have another hearing, because the trial court denied it and said, look, we just had the hearing. We're not doing it again. The Supreme Court said, no, they've brought up enough evidence based on newly discovered facts about his mental condition that warrants another competency hearing.
And explain to our listeners why you can't execute someone if they have dementia.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, a weird thing, but the United States Supreme Court said that you have to, before you can execute someone, they need to appreciate that the execution is the result of something they did. They have to understand the connection between the execution and their conduct. I know that seems kind of odd, but really you have to appreciate, boy, I did something really horrible, and this is the consequence to that. And if you absent that understanding, according to the United States Supreme Court, the execution just doesn't make sense. You can't execute a mentally ill person. Now, no one is claiming in a million years, Amanda, that he will be released from prison. He'll serve the rest of his life in prison, no matter what. The only issue to be decided is when and if he will be executed here in Utah.
I mean, with more of these death penalty cases taking decades to reach an actual execution date, this is going to happen more often, isn't it?
No question, it's going to happen. And Menzies may be an outlier, although we have had people on death row for a significant period of time. His homicide occurred in 1986. His trial was in 88. So we're approaching 40 years on both of those markers. And yeah, I think the public has every reason, and the victims' families even more reason to be skeptical. Like, why are we doing this if it's just taking so long? Because as it turns out, when you execute someone who committed a crime 40 years earlier, it's in some respects not even the same person.
Yes,
so much has changed in their personality, and maybe they've learned things, maybe they've gained things, maybe they've done some things in prison. But anyway, the Supreme Court said you really need to appreciate the consequences of your action.
Menzies was convicted of kidnapping and murdering Maureen Hunsaker in 1986. Midday continues in just 60 seconds.
I am not a rich woman, but I feel like a rich woman every time I go in my closet. The best, hands down, present I've ever received was my husband secretly redid my closet with Closets by Design. So now when I go in there aren't all these shoes just junked on the floor. They're neatly sitting on their shelves. And my necklaces are hanging on their individual hooks, and earrings are in their little squares in this soft drawer that pulls out. It's just gorgeous. In fact, he saw how much I loved it. He had Closets by Design redo the garage. So now all the stuff, the tools, the toys, the junk is all in cabinets. When you open our garage door, you see cars. That's it. It's amazing. The things that Closets by Design can do, and it's going to save you money right now because you get up to 40% off plus an additional 15% off with 18-month financing. You can do so much with your closet, much more than you realize, with this wonderful Utah company, Closets by Design. Find out more at 1-800-BY-DESIGN or closetsbydesign.com.
A new initiative at the University of Utah designed to help ease congestion on campus and open up the parking lots is facing a lot of flack from students. The plan is to spread out class times, moving away from primetime hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 9 and 2. Starting next semester, roughly half of the classes will be held outside of those hours. Before we get too far into the story, quick disclosure here, I do teach classes at the University of Utah. Rebecca Walsh, Communications Director for the university, tells KSL News Radio's Josue Sanchez that the changes will tackle so many more issues than just parking.
Over time, courses at our university, and probably at universities around the country, become stacked during peak hours and peak days that are popular with both students and faculty. So for us, Those stacked days are generally Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Those are when students and faculty like to be in class. It's most convenient for them. You get Mondays and Fridays off sometimes. So we understand it's a natural phenomenon that this would have developed. But as a result, we have some downstream effects that we would like to fix by reconsidering the stacked schedule. So the downstream effects have been physical congestion in classroom buildings, other spaces on campus, laboratories, and parking. The other downstream effect is that it means that for many students, it's hard to get into classes because in some cases, required classes are only offered once a semester or once a year. And if everybody is trying to get into that Tuesday morning class, it means many students may not be able to get into those required classes. As a result, they may have to stay in classes and at the university for another year to take that required course. So there's a backlog of there are bottlenecks for students trying to get into required courses. If we can spread out this uneven distribution of courses over the weeks, the days of the week, and over semesters, many more students would be able to get into those required classes and finish their degrees sooner, or at least that's the hope. So we'd like to clear the bottlenecks in the course schedule and also alleviate some of the physical congestion on campus. Parking would be hopefully one of the benefits of this, but it would also make it easier to schedule courses. It would make it easier to schedule testing. It would make it easier to schedule laboratory courses. The hope is that it would kind of ease the crowding, the physical and sort of the literal and non-literal crowding that we have on our campus as a result of this stacked schedule.
Reaction on social media from students has largely been negative. Here's KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis.
Thousands of comments were left on the post from students, former students, and community members. Several commenters say the change could delay graduation for any students who hold jobs. Others point out the change may make the parking situation on campus worse, keeping students on campus potentially from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. when their last class is finished.
I asked my class of 20 this morning how they felt about the change, and not one of them was happy about it. After class, a couple gave me their reactions.
Honestly, I think it's kind of ridiculous because it has no regard for what the students think, what they care about, especially in the recent Instagram posts as well, where you just scroll through the comments and every single one is just bashing what they're saying, but we don't actually see anyone saying anything to it or about it.
Yeah, there's been no acknowledgement of any student voices or anything like that, and people are creating petitions to even get just a comment back, any sort of recognition of the fact that we're paying literally thousands of dollars out of pocket to be here and take classes, and you can't even give us classes that work into our schedules or anything like that. And especially for students that are employed, which are many of them, it's just so inconvenient to have. I'm not waking up at 6:30 to go to class at 7:30 when my commute is 30 minutes anyway, and then I struggle to park and I'm late to class anyways, and then I go to work and I have to be back here at 3 to take my other class when this all could have been knocked out as it is this semester at between 9 and 12. It's so inconvenient and inconsiderate, and it's not actually going to solve the parking problem. That's the bigger thing. If it was actually going to solve the issue, then I wouldn't have these adverse feelings about it. Yeah. But the fact that they refuse to actually come up with a solution like building more parking garages, which would help literally everyone, including professors, is just beyond me.
Well, yeah, and they've upped the parking prices as well and decreased the amount of parking lots. And so I've already gotten a ticket this year, and we're only 2 weeks into the semester, and it used to be $30. Now it's $50.
Jasmine Velazik and Kylie Williams giving me their reaction today. The Daily Utah Chronicle also reports that school has raised the price for their parking permit to almost $390. Confusion over eligibility for the COVID vaccine, which varies state by state. We'll break it down after the break, but first, it's KSL Traffic, brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Michelle?
We have emergency traffic, Maria. Southbound I-15, something was stopping all lanes of travel as you're approaching 21st South. It looks like that has been opened up, but we do have delays that are pretty solid, backing up to about 6 South. Other than that, I-15 running at posted speeds. Your fall, one tank starts in Cedar City, Parowan, and Bryan Head. Scenic byways and highways, live theater, mountain biking, chairlift rides, ATVing, vibrant art, food, and downtown. Visit cedarcity.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
No parades, no confetti, just quiet wins that changed everything.
Real people, real results. Soda weight loss works. Just ask Ramon.
Tying my shoes without grunting, taking stairs without gasping, running around with my kids without needing a break. That's what Soda gave me. In 16 weeks, I dropped 82 pounds.
Let that sink in. He lost 82 pounds. That's amazing.
Think about all that weight lifted off your bones. I owe my life to Soda. That's not hyperbole. With Soda, you don't feel alone. You get your own nutritionist guiding you every step along the way.
What are you waiting for? Just imagine your friends and family's reactions when you show up at holiday parties 30, 40, 50 pounds lighter. Get started now for the best season of your life with our partner program. Because when you join now, your partner joins for free.
Go to sodaweightloss.com. SOTA stands for state of the art. SodaWeightLoss.com. SodaWeightLoss.com.
Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/deal for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
All the talks we've had over the years, including what you've told me about not using alcohol and other drugs, they stick with me. And believe it or not, they really do make a difference, especially at times that matter most.
Hey, want a drink?
No thanks, I'm good. So thank you, Dad, for talking and preparing me for what's ahead.
Thanks, Mom, for never giving up and always being my biggest fan.
Thank you for letting me know what you expect, so I can try to meet your expectations.
Thank you for talking.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You are listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. We are streaming on the KSL NewsRadio app, sponsored by At Your Service Pros. This weekend, the big story in public health has been the staffing changes at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Across the country, at pharmacies and doctors' offices, the new question is, can I get vaccinated this fall or not? It comes following confusion over standards for who can or who cannot get the COVID vaccine. ABC's Cheyenne Hazlitt describes the changes and the reaction to them on the Start Here podcast with Brad Milkey.
The FDA issued a narrower approval for this season's COVID vaccines. That's the change we're seeing here. They're not for everyone anymore. They're now for higher risk groups. So that's people over 65 or younger people who have an underlying condition.
It was in my best interest to get it because I have MS. So that's why I got it.
And right off the bat, just to put this into perspective, the administration has justified this decision by pointing out that less than 25% of Americans were getting their COVID boosters already. And that's true. So they say that they're just preserving the shots for the people who need them most while studying the benefit for the rest who are already not that interested in keeping up with the regular shots.
The FDA's decision does not affect the availability of COVID vaccines for Americans who want them. We believe in individual choice.
What we've been seeing play out since this decision, though, is a lot of confusion and doubt about vaccines that have already been studied to be widely safe and effective and also very publicly tested. Hundreds of millions of Americans getting safely vaccinated since the pandemic. And we've also seen a lot of confusion in the rollout of the policy itself. It's up in the air just who can get these shots still, where they can get them, whether insurance will continue to cover them. And we're seeing that from the nation's largest pharmacy chains.
Yeah, I was going to say, so if someone wants to protect themselves from COVID and they don't meet one of these, there's basically two big requirements, right? If you're over 65, you can get it. If you're under 65, the way you can get them, the FDA says, is if you have one of these pre-existing health conditions, right? And there are lots of them, but you got to qualify in one of those two ways. If you don't meet those, I mean, can you get a COVID vaccine, yes or no?
According to the pharmacists, the insurance groups, the trade organizations that we've talked to, it will be more difficult for younger, otherwise healthy people to get a COVID vaccine ahead of this winter respiratory virus season. Whether that means you have to go to the doctor for a prescription instead of walking into a pharmacy, whether that is insurance questions, whether it means that in your state the policy is slightly different than in another state, whether certain pharmacies are offering it in your state and others aren't. And here's also a key point. For the next few weeks, this confusion might be up in the air as the policy shifts are all absorbed. We're still waiting on a key meeting from the CDC later this month that might clear some of this up.
That prescription element is causing additional confusion, too. In fact, here in Utah, CVS Pharmacy has announced that it will only administer the COVID vaccine to people with a prescription. And in states like Massachusetts, Nevada, and New Mexico, they won't give out the COVID vaccine at all. Hazlitt says the state-by-state rule differences are complicating matters even further.
Walgreens, also a huge pharmacy chain, they said that they're going to give the states, in quote, states where we are able to do so. So they weren't able to give us a state-by-state breakdown, but we do know that leaves some questions for people depending on where they live. I did a quick check on New Mexico, one of those states where CVS is not going to be offering the vaccine right away. And I did, when I entered details for somebody who would be over 65, get a message that said prescription required before appointment. So that's just going to be different.
Oh, even for the 65-year-old. Huh. Wow. Okay, so I guess what does that do for public health, both in the near term and the long term?
Kennedy and the officials in his orbit would argue that they're asking questions Americans want answered to regain trust in these systems and these organizations. But public health experts who disagree say they're drumming up a lot of confusion and doubt in the meantime, which could actually further erode trust in public health instead.
Yeah, and when it comes to medical experts, both inside and outside of government, the overwhelming recommendation is talk to your doctor about what your risks are, what you need, and what sort of urgency with which you need it.
ABC Cheyenne Hazlitt and Start Here's Brad Milkey there. It's 2:30 midday at KSL NewsRadio. I'm Maria Shilaos. Some of the stories we are watching this hour. Consumer sentiment is low, but consumer spending is still high. We'll break down the reasons and why there's a disconnect. Wildfires affecting traditional wildlife migration routes across the state, and KSL traffic, Ricky.
Looking at some delays southbound to I-15 going through the Riverdale area and then going past downtown Salt Lake. Michelle Rowe.
Sorry about that, Michelle.
That's okay.
And the forecast for the Wasatch Front calls for highs in the low 90s for the first half of the week. By Friday, though, down into the 80s, low 80s by the weekend. ABC News coming up next, and then your top local stories.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. He doesn't say when, but it's now definitely not if or whether President Trump will send National Guard troops to fight crime in Chicago.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in.
This despite annual FBI crime stats ranking U.S. cities, putting Chicago nowhere near the top for violent crime. In a video posted on X, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker.
Just a lovely day here. No emergency, so Donald Trump understands no emergency in the city of Chicago to send troops in.
Earlier today, a federal judge ruled that the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles violated a century-old law, Posse Comitatus, designed to prevent creation of a national police force. Defying President Trump, Congressman Thomas Massey, Kentucky Republican, filing a measure to force a vote ordering the Justice Department to publicly release the Jeffrey Epstein files. On Wall Street, the major indexes closed lower. This is ABC News.
KSL's top local story. Police in Draper are investigating a stabbing in an apartment complex this morning. Lieutenant Mike Elkins says they were called to the Anthology Apartments just before 9.
When our officers arrived, we actually located 2 individuals with stab wounds. We're still in the initial stages of investigation, but it looks like this is possibly domestic violence related.
Elkins says both were critically injured and are now being treated at a hospital. He says that anyone with information should reach out to police. One person is dead, another fighting for their life after a plane crashed in Little Cottonwood Canyon. It happened just before 5:30 Sunday night in the Albion Basin area of the canyon. Hannah Gorski with the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office says there were only 2 people on board when it went down.
Witnesses were hiking in the area. UFA and Alta Marshal were first to respond, and upon arrival discovered one victim was deceased.
The other passenger was airlifted to the University Hospital in critical condition. Investigators with the FAA and the NTSB were called in and are now trying to figure out what caused that crash. Authorities in Beaver County were able to stop a wrong-way driver this afternoon. Highway Patrol says it started with a traffic stop on a car stolen from California. The driver tried to get away by going southbound in the northbound lanes and most of the time on the shoulder. Beaver County Sheriff's deputies spotted the car and pursued it. With one deputy heading north, another heading south, they were able to stop the car by pinning it. There is no word on if there were any injuries or accidents caused by that driver going the wrong way. Other local stories we are following. We've reached September, which means peak leaf season will soon be here and gone within a matter of weeks. KSL News Radio's Randall Jepson has more.
Meteorologists, they call September 1st the start of fall, and Matt Johnson in the KSL Weather Center. He says over the next 2 to 3 weeks, the changing leaves, they'll be showing up in patches in our mountains. But by September 20th, we start the peak season.
So there's going to be some areas in the state of Utah that will be doing quite well with plenty of color. September 27th, peak, and October 4th, peak conditions.
He says by mid-October, most of the leaves, they'll have fallen to the ground. Matt says if you're looking for family photos, mid to late September is your best bet for brilliant colors. Randall Jepson, KSL News Radio.
And your money at this moment, the Dow ending the day down by 424 points, nearly a full percent, sitting at 45,119. S&P and NASDAQ both down by more than 1%. S&P down by 73 points, the NASDAQ down by 286. Traffic and weather brought to you by Mountain America's My Style checking account. Michelle Rowe, are we out of emergency traffic?
We are out of emergency traffic. There are a few slow spots, though. Southbound I-15, this is going to start in the Riverdale area, again going through Layton and then going past downtown. But they're still working on this big vehicle, some sort of utility truck that has gone off into the shoulder. This is in the Willard Bay area. There is a big crane trying to get that uprighted. Michelle, fall in Alta is here, and so is your exclusive locals offer. Snow Pine Lodge is giving Utah residents 20% off lodging. Get away from the daily hustle and enjoy mountain mornings and golden colors. Visit snowpine.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Week off to a hot start. We were talking low 90s for the first half, but down to 88 by Friday and low 80s by Saturday and Sunday. 91 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, what are you waiting for? Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
A 15-year-old girl who chewed through a rope to escape a serial killer.
I used my front teeth to saw on the rope in my mouth.
The killer prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He's been convicted of murdering 2 young women, but suspected of many more.
Maybe there's another one in that area.
Follow Stolen Voices of Dole Valley now, so you don't miss an episode.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. When you find yourself facing divorce, you need a partner you can count on.
Connect with a local divorce attorney today. Text Office 44 to 32 32 32. Office 44 to 32 32 32. CordellCordell.com.
You are listening to Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. An immigration judge has opened the door for a Utah violinist in ICE custody to come home. But his attorney worries that the federal government could try to keep him in custody. KSL News Radio's Adam Small explains.
Today, a judge issued a $25,000 bond for John Shin, who's currently in an ICE detention facility in Colorado. If he posts that bond, he could return to his family here in Utah. But Shin's attorney, Adam Craig, tells me a bond that high allows immigration prosecutors to claim Shin is a threat to national security.
Which means they have to say he's akin to a terrorist. He's similar to someone that has committed such an egregious act that the immigration judge was so wrong that they have the authority to go over her head and keep him in custody.
But Craig says Shin's only criminal record is an impaired driving conviction and 4 traffic tickets.
It's so frustrating. I'm so frustrated. He should be out of custody. He shouldn't have ever been in custody.
If the government does go down this route, they'll need a federal judge to side with them and force Shin to stay in custody, which Craig says could end up being a year or more. If they side with Shin, he can post his bond and go home. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
We know that these are complicated issues, and we haven't heard yet from people who support the Trump administration policies, but we are working to get those opinions as well. Listen to more Midday later this week as we work to bring you more perspective. High prices, rising debt may be a big frustration for all of us, but the data shows many of us just keep spending. While that's good news for the economy, it doesn't quite make sense. It seems like there's a disconnect between our perception and reality when it comes to the economy. I asked Bankrate Senior Industry Analyst Ted Rossman what is driving this spending.
It's really interesting. I mean, some of what's going on is that upper income households are propping up these statistics. Moody's says that the top 10% of the income distribution is accounting for 50% of the spending. And that's an all-time high going back to the late 80s when they started tracking this. There's also this whole perception versus reality thing where a lot of people are downbeat about the economy. They feel that things are too expensive and they're not getting ahead. The truth is that wage growth has outpaced inflation for the past few years. And even though it doesn't feel great because everything costs more, people do have income coming in. The unemployment rate is low. People are working. People are getting raises. I know it doesn't feel like we're getting ahead, but that is at least supporting a lot of spending. And there's also this ongoing post-pandemic experiences kind of binge. I'm surprised that we're basically on year 5 of that at this point. But a lot of people are prioritizing travel and dining and concerts and sporting events and things like that.
Yeah, you mentioned the upper income has boosted this number a bit. But when you look at the spending, what kinds of things are we spending money on?
Some people are pulling demand forward because of tariffs. That's another part of the story. So that could be bigger ticket items like cars and appliances, electronics, furniture. I mean, we're definitely seeing evidence that some people are speeding up some of those purchases, and they've been doing that this spring and summer to try to get out ahead of potential higher prices. Experiences are still hot, too. We're still seeing record demand for travel, and dining out is still doing well. And other experiences like concerts and sporting events. So all of those things are doing well. One area that people are not investing in quite as much are home renovations. It was interesting that during their recent earnings calls, companies like Home Depot talked about how people are doing the smaller projects and maybe they're coming in more frequently for smaller things, but they're not necessarily doing the full-blown kitchen renovation or bathroom or something like that. It tends to be more of the smaller cosmetic kind of projects.
Yeah. How does it look as far as big purchases like buying a house?
The housing market's been in a tough spot the past few years. High prices and high mortgage rates have been major headwinds there. There's just not that much inventory. Now, some of that's improved a little bit, and mortgage rates have actually edged down a bit. We're now looking at about 6.5% on average for the 30-year fixed. Late last year, we were close to 8%. So, the fact that rates have come down is helping. But people are still nervous. Is it the best time to make a big purchase like a house? People maybe don't have the down payment, or they're worried about job security, or they just can't find something they like. If mortgage rates were to fall below 6%, that would definitely help. But housing has been pretty slow the past few years.
A new report from you guys talks about subprime credit essentially becoming a subprime tax for many Americans. Talk about this for a minute. First of all, what is subprime credit?
We're talking about people with lower credit scores. So on the scale that goes from 300 to 850, generally speaking, if you're about 620 or lower, that's considered subprime, whereas if you're in the 700 or 800s, that's prime. That's desirable customers, more likely to get approved. You're going to have lower interest rates on your loans. The 600s is kind of a battleground. It matters a lot. Every 10 or 20 points can really improve or make your standing worse. So basically, we're talking about people who have, let's say, a 620 credit score. And, what are they paying for loans and lines of credit versus somebody who has a 700, somebody who's deemed a better credit risk. And what we found is that people with lower credit scores are charged about $3,400 more per year on average. That's for mortgages, car loans, insurance products, credit cards. It really adds up over time.
Yeah. Why are they punished so much?
Yeah, the reason these lenders are charging more is because these people are deemed greater credit risks. That your credit score is kind of a report card of sorts, supposed to predict how likely you are to pay back loans and lines of credit. What's surprising to us isn't really that people with lower credit scores are charged more. It's that the amount is so much more, and it's the amount that they maybe can't afford. We found that this represents about 4% of the median annual income. So it's definitely just one more thing on top of higher prices, higher interest rates. Now, there are some things you can do to improve your score. You can check for errors. You can sign up for programs like Experian Boost that pull in certain rent payments and streaming services and cell phone plans. Maybe you could get on a parent or spouse's card as an authorized user and piggyback off their credit card history. These are some of the things people can do to bump their scores up, because it is really important. I mean, especially for something like a mortgage, like even a quarter point or a half a point can be tens of thousands of dollars over the life of that loan.
Ted Rossman is a senior industry analyst with Bankrate. We have breaking news at KSL. Ogden police have closed the Lauren Farr Park on Canyon Road after someone reported a suspicious package. Police say the Davis County Sheriff's Bomb Squad has been called to the scene. They're asking people to avoid that area while they investigate. Wildfires in Utah this year have now burned more than 163,000 acres, according to Utah Fire Info. Now, that can have a big impact on the wildlife that used to live where those fires were. Migration Initiative Coordinator Makita Hansen from the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources joined me earlier to discuss the changes that she sees for the wildlife in those areas.
So that really depends on the species of wildlife that you're looking at. So in a lot of the areas across Utah, we have collars on our big game animals. And what we see with animals like deer and elk is they really don't move that much. They find little areas of unburned patches within the fire perimeter that they can escape the fire. Sometimes they'll leave temporarily and come right back. Then for species like fish, we can see there's debris flow and sediment that can impact those rivers and can deplete those rivers of fish. So it really depends on the species that you're looking at. But with big game animals, we really don't see much change.
So is there any impact to migration patterns or anything like that?
Not that we've seen so far. In one interesting case for one specific doe deer that we have a collar on, she actually used her standard migration corridor that she uses every year to get from her summer range to her winter range, and she followed that path and spent about 2 weeks in her winter range and then went right back to her summer range where the fire had just burned in about 2 weeks. So pretty interesting to see how they use those corridors during fire times.
So it's interesting to hear that you're actually tracking them during or around fires. Are there particular fires right now that you're seeing a big shift in wildlife patterns?
Yeah, we really haven't seen a lot of shift. The fire that had the most impact on big game, which we have a lot of the collars on, was the Monroe fire, because that was a summer range fire and the deer were actually in those areas during the time the fire started. And all of our collar information is really showing that they didn't move much. And we have mortality alerts on those collars. And of all the animals that we have collared, which is about 30 deer and 30 elk, none of those have received a mortality notice that there was any issues with the fire.
Interesting to hear that they aren't really impacted by the wildfire. It's like they're home and they're going to stay there.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually they go back really quickly. In those high elevation summer wildfires, the vegetation grows back pretty quickly, and those animals can really use that new resource. It's really fresh growth for them to benefit actually from the fire.
Nikita Hansen is a Migration Initiative Coordinator with the Utah Division of Wildlife Resources. The first major weekend in college football now complete, and the AP Top 25 poll, yes, now updated. Now, among the changes that Utahns might be interested in, Utah snuck in at number 25, while BYU was left completely off the list. I spoke to KSL sports anchor Sam Farnsworth to get his take on the rankings.
Yeah, last year was such a good year for BYU, but there was a lot of questions surrounding this team with obviously the quarterback situation with Jake Retzloff leaving the team and then them starting a true freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier. They did outstanding in week one, beating a small school the way they should have, 69-0. So when it comes to the amount of votes they're getting, they're technically 26. So they're just right outside the top 25. Utah was 27th. They leapt over BYU to 25th, and they deserve it 100%. The way they played against UCLA on the road, they answered a lot of questions that people were wondering what this new offense could do. And their new quarterback, Devin Dampier, he was outstanding. So I think with 1 week into the season, this is about what we should be seeing right now from these two teams.
Okay, so what do these rankings mean so early in the season?
Not a whole lot. However, what they do is they do build momentum for these programs, right? And when it comes to the last 6 weeks or so of the season, that's when it really matters, when the playoff committee starts to pick teams and decide who's going to make it to the playoffs. That's where this ranking momentum can help. So the more you win early in the season, the more you get into the rankings early in the season, the better for you in the long run.
So I'm going to actually ask, why are both teams so far down in those rankings?
That's a good question. I think a big reason for Utah was because they had such a poor season last year. A losing season. Kyle Whittingham usually does not have losing seasons. And there's a lot of questions if they'd be able to get back on track with this new offense. Again, BYU with their quarterback situation, I think was the biggest question mark there. And you might say they look like they're pretty far down, but really where they're at right now is a pretty good spot. Wherein, like, let's say 2-3 weeks from now, if they both have still won all their games up to that point, we could see them both in the top 20, which would be a great spot for them.
Okay, so when you're looking at the matchups for this coming weekend, are these guys going to be able to hang on to these rankings?
Yeah, they definitely should. Utah's taking on Cal Poly. This is a team that Utah should just be able to handle without any problems at all. And for lack of a better term, they really should dominate that game. BYU playing Stanford, that's a good, it counts as a Power 4 win. Stanford is a program that's kind of on the down. They're struggling. So that's, again, another game that BYU should win. So I expect both of these teams to come out with convincing wins this weekend, which would help their cause next week. They should be able to bump up a little bit in the rankings, both of them. And I think BYU will be in the top 25 next week with a win.
Okay, I think both teams' fans are pretty darn excited for the season. I mean, what stood out for you this weekend?
Yeah, there's a lot of good reason to be excited. For BYU fans, I think you got to be excited about the way a true freshman played. He counted for 5 touchdowns just in the first half, and no BYU true freshman has ever started at quarterback to start the season, and here he comes in and accounts for 5 touchdowns really quick. And then Utah's quarterback, Devin Dampier, was amazing. He proved every question that we had, he proved that he could do it with his feet, his mobility, had a great arm, great accuracy. And so there's certainly a lot to be excited about with both of these offenses moving forward.
Where did Devin Dampier come from?
He was a transfer from the University of New Mexico. Last year, he was outstanding. He was one of those quarterbacks that ran for over 1,000 yards, had 19 rushing touchdowns, 12 passing touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. So a lot of people wondered if he'd be able to pass with more accuracy at the Power 5, Power 4 level, and he did that against UCLA. So he came from New Mexico. Utah's new offensive coordinator, Jason Beck, also came from New Mexico. So it was kind of like a package deal. They know each other well. They work together well, and it showed up last Saturday when they took on UCLA.
KSL sports anchor Sam Farnsworth there. Now, for you Cougar fans, make sure you tune in to the new nightly Cougar Track show with Mitch Harper each night at 6:30. You can bet he has a lot to say tonight. That's right here on KSL News Radio. One Utah girl is in the running to be Youth Athlete of the Year. We'll hear her inspiring story next. But first, it's KSL Traffic brought to you by Mountain America's MyStyle checking account. Michelle?
We still have some slowdowns going on. Southbound I-15, the first is in the Riverdale area, then a little more slowing around the south interchange, headed on into the Sandy area. But once you make it into Utah County, you're looking at good speeds. The music of Phil Collins and Genesis comes to life like never before, from the pulse of In the Air Tonight to the power of Take Me Home. Tickets at utahsymphony.org. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's almost over, but the heat is pressing on. If you've got battery trouble, stop by AutoZone for free battery testing. It may just need a charge, and we'll do that for free too. If you do need a battery, we've got options starting at just $89.99, and we'll recycle your old battery for free. Now that's a strong start. Don't miss the end of summer sale, now at AutoZone until September 22nd.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
When you bundle renters and auto with Progressive, you can save while protecting your most valuable possessions, like your really expensive limited edition sneakers and your new suit for your cousin's wedding. Except you never actually bought the suit because you can't stop buying sneakers. So you show up to the wedding looking like you're going grocery shopping. But hey, at least your sneakers will look good in the pictures, until you're cropped out of every last one of them. So go ahead and get Progressive, so you can save while protecting the things that matter to you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Join KSL The Movie Show this Friday, 10 to 1 at the Salt Lake NPS Store, 1600 Empire Road in Salt Lake City, npsstore.com.
Saving for retirement was tough enough for us.
Yes, and navigating markets can be challenging at times.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we take a disciplined approach with your investments.
Tell us more about that.
We take an active approach to money management, positioning your portfolio for opportunities we see ahead.
So all your clients get the same portfolio?
No. We tailor your portfolio to your individual goals and needs.
What about communication? We don't like being left in the dark.
We check in regularly to keep you informed on the markets and your portfolio.
Which means you'll help us stay on track.
Yes. Our goal is your comfortable retirement. And as a fiduciary, we always put your interests first, because we do better when you do better. At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-486-9600. That's 800-486-9600.
This is Midday. I'm Maria Shilaos. Golden Arch lovers rejoice. McDonald's is bringing back its popular extra value meals. Fast food prices have been rising rapidly over the past few years, leading more Americans to skip the burgers, fries, and the special sauce. But ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reports McDonald's move to bring back the extra value meals is just one step in a plan to win back consumers, and they're not the only ones trying.
The fast food chain is now announcing the return of 8 extra value meals on its menus nationwide starting next week. So, for example, sausage egg McMuffin meal with hash browns and a small coffee, just $5, or a Big Mac meal, which comes with medium fries and medium drink, that would be $8.
Starting next week, Taco Bell is bringing back 5 items from their early 2000s, all for $3 or less. And the Y2K menu features the chili cheese burrito and the double-decker taco. And finally on Midday, a young Utah girl is now a national finalist in the running to become the Youth Athlete of the Year. Surviving tough competition is nothing new for her, though, since winning her battle with the big C, cancer. KSL 5 TV's Jody Reynosa has the story.
I'm here at DTA, Dwiggins Tumbling Academy. It's where I had the opportunity to speak with that incredible young lady, 10 years old, Aria Park. It's also where she discovered her love of tumbling and cheerleading. And as you mentioned, now she is vying for the title of Youth Athlete of the Year. Now, although her family says she's cancer-free, she was first diagnosed at age 2, they say the journey hasn't always been an easy one.
My favorite thing about cheer is everything. I love everything about it.
Meet Aria Park, cancer survivor and elite cheerleader.
I just try to stay focused and keep learning.
Wise words from this old soul, but believe it or not, she's only 10.
I remember I was sitting there and she was just carrying around her machine. She had tubes with the little tube in her arm.
Cheer coach Keisha Markardson gets emotional describing Aria's stark reality.
And I just started crying. I was like, oh my gosh, I know you've survived cancer and I know that this is a part of your life, but this is a part of your everyday life.
But her autoimmune disease, that took a lot more effort to get resolved, but as you'll see in a little bit, it's pretty incredible the things she can do.
All do. It's what Aria does best. From these extraordinary lifts with spotter Jordan to these back walkovers with best friend Paisley, Aria is an inspiration to so many, including her baby sister Sage. From cancer survivor to finalist for Youth Athlete of the Year, Aria is not only focused on having fun, but on gratitude for the people in her life.
It's just making my day.
And you can help make Aria's day by voting for her up until September 4th. Now, she currently is in first place in her group, but she wants to go big. She wants to take it all, the national title. And we'll have all of that information, that link on how to vote for her on our website at KSLTV.com. A little bit more, though, about the competition. It is Together Collectively Foundations partnering with Sports Illustrated. So the winner not only takes $25,000 home, they also get to participate in a 3-brand ad in Sports Illustrated.
And that is KSL 5 TV's Jody Reynosa there. You can find all the details on the competition and a link to vote for Aria at KSLTV.com. Thanks for joining me today on Midday. Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News is up next with a special guest host that you might remember listening to the mornings here on KSL. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, so stick around and have a great day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio, and in for Jeff Kaplan, I'm Tim Hughes. Our top story this hour: a Utah violinist currently in ICE custody will get at least a shot at going home, but his attorneys are worried that the federal government will get in the way. That's just one of many big developments in immigration today. We have multiple reports, and we begin with KSL News Radio's Adam Small.
A judge has granted a $25,000 bond for John Shin, a well-known violinist who's still in ICE custody in Colorado. But Shin's attorney, Adam Craig, tells me a bond amount that high opens the door for prosecutors to file a motion to claim he's a national security threat akin to a terrorist.
Which literally gives them the authority to bypass the bond ruling and keep John in custody.
Though Craig says Shin's only criminal record is 1 impaired driving conviction and 4 traffic tickets. Normally in the past, he says a motion like this was reserved for murderers or literal terrorists.
Nobody with half a brain is going to say that this guy is a real, true danger to the community. Nobody's going to.
We'll know by tomorrow morning if the government does go down this route. If they do, Craig says they'll have to plead with a federal judge to see things their way. If that happens, Shin can be released on bond and go home. But if the judge were to side the other way, Craig says Shin could spend a year or more in ICE custody. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
Our team coverage, immigration continues. Riverton is the first city in Utah to partner with ICE, allowing some of their officers to enforce immigration law. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
In a joint statement from Mayor Trent Staggs and Police Chief Shane Taylor, they say this agreement could act as a force multiplier by allowing them to certify certain officers to investigate and detain criminals who are here illegally. They say this will keep neighborhoods safe and will protect law-abiding citizens. However, across the state, as KSL has reported on county agreements with ICE, many people have said they're worried victims who are here illegally could be afraid to call police, potentially creating a bigger public safety issue.
Under this agreement, certain officers will be chosen to go through online training and then receive the authority to help enforce immigration law. Our top national story this hour: a federal judge has ruled that the Trump administration broke the law when the president sent federal troops to L.A. this summer.
Today's order now sets the stage for a high-profile appeal as the Trump administration ramps up the use of federal troops in U.S. cities. This ruling has stayed until September 12th to allow the president to appeal to the Ninth Circuit, and likely whichever side loses will try the U.S. Supreme Court. But the judge is saying, in short, the president violated the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the use of military and the role of domestic law enforcement. The federal government argues the troops have only been protecting federal assets, but the judge found their role in setting up perimeters, traffic blockades, and crowd control have gone beyond what is legal. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
President Trump said today that he still plans on deploying National Guard troops to Chicago despite pushback from the mayor and governor. While he didn't give an exact timeline, he said the deployment is imminent.
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in.
Illinois governor posted a video on social media today urging people who live there to be aware of their constitutional protections in case they interact with agents. Congress is back in session in Washington, D.C. Lawmakers are now meeting to figure out how to fund the government for the rest of the year. Congressional correspondent for the Deseret News, Cami Mondeau, told inside sources there's a good chance the government shuts down.
As I've talked to people, they're seeming it's a little bit more likely than not at the moment, just because Democrats, you have Schumer in the Senate and Jeffries in the House who are, continually asking Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune for meetings to kind of come up with a bipartisan process. We haven't seen that at all. They've been asking for weeks. So it is seeming like, if Republicans don't come to the table and, try to work with Democrats and they continue going down this street where they, want to really push for spending cuts, you very well could see a government shutdown. So I think what I saw earlier today, that a lot of people are kind of giving it a 50-50 chance at the moment, but we'll see how that progresses.
That funding deadline is coming up on September 30th. We also have developing news here on KSL. Ogden police are asking you to stay away from the Lauren Farr Park on Canyon Road. while they investigate a suspicious package that was found in the area. A bomb squad has been called to the scene. We do not know who reported it or what kind of package was found. We'll continue to follow the story and, of course, bring you updates. In sports, the University of Utah is ranked 25 in the AP's latest poll, while the Cougars find themselves just off the list. KSL sports anchor Sam Farnsworth says while the rankings may not mean much right now.
However, what they do is they do build momentum for these programs, right? And when it comes to the last 6 weeks or so of the season, that's when it really matters, when the playoff committee starts to pick teams and decide who's going to make it to the playoffs. That's where this ranking momentum can help. So the more you win early in the season, the more you get into the rankings early in the season, the better for you in the long run.
Farnsworth says he expects both teams will be in the top 25 next week. KSL News Time now is 3:05. Let's get our first look of traffic here. Michelle Rowe is in the traffic center. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Tim. We have a couple of unusual things going on at the moment. The first is we have some sort of military vehicle that rolled off of the highway earlier. This is in the Willard Bay area. They do have a heavy crane that is working to get that back up onto the highway. So you'll want to watch through that as you're going through that area. Is blocking a right lane at this point. And then also for drivers that are on southbound I-15 Center Street in Orem, that left lane is blocked due to an abandoned vehicle, and it is causing some hazard as traffic from both directions are trying to merge onto I-15. Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Jeff's off for the next couple of days, but we're lucky enough to still have his Minute of News, and we'll do that when we come back.
This is Andy Farnsworth with One Kind Act Today's Minute of Kindness, brought to you by the Semnani Family Foundation. At Primary Children's Hospital in Lehigh, a special space called Sophie's Place is helping young patients heal, not with medicine, but with music. It's named after Sophie Barton, a kind and talented 17-year-old musician who passed away unexpectedly in 2010. Inspired by her love of music and her gentle heart, her family and the Forever Young Foundation created this music therapy room where children can sing, play, and find peace during hard times. Sophie's legacy now lives on in every note, every smile, and every moment of joy these kids experience through music. Let this remind us, even in the face of deep loss, we can create something beautiful that brings light to others. What's one talent or passion you could share today to lift someone up, just like Sophie did? Find out more at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
September means it's time for Any Hour Services free furnace sale. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and as summer comes to a close and falls right around the corner, the weather gets, well, perfect. And when the weather's perfect, people need a little extra incentive to replace their heating and cooling system. That's where Any Hour Services free furnace sale comes in. For the month of September, when you have Any Hour Services install a new air conditioner, we'll give you a new furnace for just the cost to install it. About how much you can save during our free furnace sale? Call Any Hour Services today and schedule a